Hey there, welcome to Video Game Club Podcast, Episode 8. The game this week is called Firewatch. It's a story-based exploration game about a man who takes a job in the mountains keeping track of wildfires. This week, we have a lovely guest filling in for my brother. She goes by Catlegs. She is an online friend of mine who used to stream Dead by Daylight back when I also did the same. We've kept in touch, and she was happy to play the game with me this week. So yeah, give her some love in the comments, and on with the podcast. All right, so the game we have today is called Firewatch. What did you think of Firewatch?
Well,
Catlegs?
aesthetically,
Aesthetically,
gorgeous.
just give me a one sentence synopsis of your feelings on Firewatch.
Honestly, the game as a whole, I went into it kind of blind and I wasn't sure what to expect. And that was kind of the perfect way to go into it
Oh
because
yeah.
it was everything and more than I could have imagined, I would say.
So for me, I almost cried in the first 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
Oh, yeah.
that
Oh, you
whole
made it
beginning,
5?
like, yeah, I know, right? Like that first beginning, it just totally knocked me off my feet. I was
Yeah.
completely taken off guard by that beginning. That was crazy. Um,
I'm not even joking. I have in my notes, okay, literally, it's been 1 minute and I want to cry.
oh man, it's so awful too, because like, uh, the thing that his wife ends up getting sick with is like one
Yeah.
of my greatest fears for myself
Ooh,
or like anyone else around me, which is like either
okay.
the early onset dementia or Alzheimer's or
Mhm.
some,
Mhm.
whichever, loss of memory, loss of like identity, loss of self.
Yeah.
That's like at the top of the list for me. So
Oh,
like this,
1000%.
yeah, this game. But yeah, Firewatch is I guess you could say a story based exploration game um of a man who has lost his wife to this mind altering disease, and he goes out into the wild to be I guess it would be a fire watcher, a forest fire spotter
Mhm.
on in the wilderness, to working with whatever. I don't think they ever said who he was working with, but to make sure that fires don't get out of control,
Yeah.
to spot them so that the people that would take care of them can keep them under control. And that's pretty much the game. You get a walkie talkie and you walk around, you know
Mhm.
like it's so simple, but it's
Yeah.
so effective. I oh, it's ridiculous how
Okay, is
good
it
it
just
is.
me? I just have to say, the whole Firewatch thing, were you ready to just become a fire watcher after this? Because I was like, "Where do I sign up? I could do this."
You're like, you know what? Like, I know it's only
Take
for the
me.
summer, but like, I could be alone for that long, right?
That's what I'm thinking. That'd be so cool, be up there in a tower. I mean, not cool when there's, like, fires and, like, you're actually doing your job,
I
but,
I mean, I would be. I'm gonna be honest. I'm real out of shape right now, but I feel like I would do one summer of that, and I'd end up jacked,
Oh,
or
yeah.
it would be honestly I probably could do that. It would be pretty
You'd come
rough,
out
but
like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, like, just
exactly,
absolutely ripped, yeah.
or with two broken legs, one of the two. The number of times you drop from tall distances in that game is scary. I'll tell you that right
Oh,
now.
yeah.
Um,
I'm scared of heights, and,
yeah.
a few of those did it for me.
But yeah, no, the graphics in this game. So it's an open world game, with dynamic lighting. Um, there are some textures that are reused over and over, but not so much that you like get tired of them.
Yeah.
Would you agree? Like,
Oh,
uh,
1000%.
some of the rock faces were pretty much the same, but like it didn't really matter, you know?
No, it didn't feel generic.
Well, and I feel like the game could have worse graphics and be
Mhm.
totally fine, just
Yeah.
because half the time I'm listening to the conversations you're having with Delilah, and like I know that I have to listen because I have to respond, but I have to respond quickly, you know? Uh and
The
so
time limit,
yeah,
man.
oh, I didn't expect that, but it worked.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and like you can spot where you have to climb up really easily, which was a good
Mhm.
thing.
Mhm.
And then like you could spot where where they were like the little hook spots where you had
Sure.
to make the put attach the little rope.
Yeah, I found those a little bit more difficult, but I think it was because I was so enamored with the
Yeah.
scenery. Um, Man, I had fun with the scenery. Wandering around, I think that to your point, it did feel like unique enough to where it didn't feel like you were seeing the same bush, 1,000 times in a small meadow.
Right.
But the way that it was constructed, I started feeling pretty confident in my surroundings pretty quick. Which
Yeah.
was really nice. I feel like the layout of everything was pretty coherent,
Mhm.
and, I did get lost a few times and did have to use my map quite a bit, but,
I mean,
it
yeah.
it felt like learning a real trail,
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
what I was gonna say is like the first
Yeah.
time out in walking a trail, you're gonna get turned around pretty easily, but you do it enough times, you're like, I've seen that tree before. I know where I am. Like,
I know that rock.
but yeah, no, like graphics wise, this game, it didn't, it's no like, it's not gonna win any awards on the graphics, but
Mm-mm.
obviously that's not what it's here for. Um,
Yeah.
Game mechanics wise, it's like we said, there's really not a lot to this game in terms of game mechanics, but again, that's not what we're here for.
Mhm.
Uh, the most you have to do is explore, which is a personal venture. You do that, at your own pace, wherever, whenever you want, and you're given various objectives, but otherwise you're just going around doing whatever it is you're gonna do.
Yeah.
um there's no combat, there's no jump scares, there's no like collection of anything. You don't have to worry about, well, I guess technically you can collect all of the, I don't know if you did or not. I pretty much
Oh.
put everything in my bag, but like the papers in the boxes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
You did collect them all?
I'm pretty sure I collected everything, like as much as I could
Yeah.
fit. Um,
Yeah.
I noticed that they collected in your tower.
Yeah, I didn't realize that at first
Yeah,
until
I
I
didn't
came home
either.
one day and I was like, "What's this shit all over my desk?"
You're like, why can't I see out the window? This seems weird.
Yeah.
And then I started looking, and it was like, oh, this is all the stuff I've been grabbing.
Yeah, which was kinda cool too. It was cool to see it, like, it felt like exactly what I would do if I were the
Yeah,
Firewatch guy. I'd be bringing my stuff home and taping it up on the walls, like, that's my entertainment, I don't have
right.
a TV, I barely have a radio with Delilah on it, you
Yeah,
know?
whenever she's there, if she's ever there.
Yeah,
Um,
when she's
and
not drunk.
yeah, oh boy. Um, I mean, honestly, that's what we would both probably end up doing that
Yeah,
the same
yeah.
way. I, you can only be, do the same thing over and over again. But yeah, no, like, and the way that you could collect the paper, and it would sort of progress, uh, this sort of, I don't know if you would call it even a B plot, because
Kind of, in a way.
yeah, it, I'm pretty
It's like a
sure,
subplot.
yeah, it's world building, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because I'm trying to think, like, I'm pretty sure it was the character before you, or the person before you who was in that tower,
Mhm.
and that person and a park ranger, I believe, who were like swapping notes back and forth and leaving them for
Yeah.
each other, I believe.
Yeah,
um
that's what it seemed like, BFFs.
and they were really like, hey, the one guy was like, hey, I've, got this issue. And the other guy's like, well, I'm not really the issue talking type. You kind of need to talk to somebody else. But if you need to get drunk with somebody, I'm great for that. It's like, oh, okay. Thanks, guy.
We all have that friend.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, it was super realistic, I think.
I think so too. I actually looked forward to going to the little, loot boxes or what did they call them?
Uh, I think they were
A
like
supply drop, supply
supply
box?
caches. Yeah.
Supply cache, that's what it was.
Yeah.
I looked forward to going to them and being like, "Oh, what's gonna be the next step in this side story that I'm now somehow invested in?"
Yeah. You're like, is the next one going to have like nothing in it? Is it gonna have another book by the same author? Like,
Oh, the books, man, the
I
books.
really wanted to take them all home.
Yeah,
Also, they were kinda ominous.
they
Um,
were all
like,
ominous.
they were all okay because they were all, like, what would it be? Not, like, horror, but, like, mystery books,
Mhm.
right?
Mystery, some felt a little thriller. Like, if you read the title and read the back, it
Mhm,
did feel quite ominous, which is interesting. That was one of the first things that I noted, in the loading screen when we're going in, like, there's no music or anything, it's just the sound of wind, and I remember
mhm.
thinking, "That feels ominous."
Right.
And that's a feeling that just really keeps repeating throughout the game, and those books are a fantastic example of that.
Yeah, and, there were definitely times where I'm like, "Did I get missold on this game?" Like,
Yeah.
did I get accidentally buy another horror is this a Doki
Mhm,
Doki
mhm.
Literature Club situation? Like, is this just gonna randomly turn into a horror game and I'm not
Yeah,
noticing? Like, but no, it didn't, fortunately. I think there
it
was
didn't.
one spot where I jumped, and that was just the one spot where you get, like, bonked on the head and pass out,
Oh, yeah, that scared me.
which I definitely was like, "Oh, huh, okay." But
Mhm.
it was entirely, like, I thought that, like, there had to be some kind of conversation or confrontation at that point in the story, and, I mean,
Yeah.
that worked. They didn't
Yeah.
add any other models of any other people in the game from
Yeah.
start to finish,
Mhm.
and
True.
so that's, you know, how you gonna have a confrontation with somebody, without any, seeing them.
Yeah, that's a good point. That is a really good point.
Yeah.
I didn't really think of that prior.
Well, and I
Um,
was like, are they gonna put like, am I gonna talk to somebody over like in person? Like that's weird.
yeah, I kept waiting to I mean, so going into the story, right? We're going out there,
Mhm.
there's these girls at the lake with,
Oh
setting off
yeah,
fireworks, and we're like, "You guys are idiots," and you're gonna start a fire, so I'm
right.
cleaning up
Dry
all the
brush
beer
season.
cans like a good boy,
Mhm.
cleaning up all the booze, think about stealing their liquor, and I don't do it because I'm a good person and my character's an alcoholic. So,
Mhm.
well, we don't know that for sure, but he
It's
dabbles,
kind of
right?
implied, right?
It is implied, but when we get up to these girls, they're really just shapes in a distance. Like
Right.
you never see anybody face to face, and it's just like I think it does a really good job of that overwhelming feeling of being alone. Like
Mhm.
he's out there, he's kind of running away from this thing with his wife and he's alone.
Right. Yeah. It's really there's something later that I'll touch on with that exact thing. It's like right at the very end. That there will be spoilers, but yeah, no, this overwhelming feeling of like loneliness was
Yeah.
definitely uh definitely like a core tenet in this particular story. Not even just him, right? Because
Mhm.
like the conversations with Delilah are definitely at the very beginning are very like if you read between the lines, they're very desperate.
Yeah. Oh,
Uh
1000%.
and then you find out a little bit later that she doesn't really talk to any of the other, any of her other like underlings, any of the other like tower watchers. You're the only one that
Mhm.
she talks to.
Mhm.
So there's this like wow, it's not just you who is like going out there for the purpose of being alone and like finding yourself again, and then like
Mhm.
you're really lonely because your wife basically left you without intending on it, and now you
Yeah.
got to deal with that.
Yeah.
uh but then you and this other person are dealing with your loneliness essentially together, but
Mhm.
not at all together.
No.
um Yeah, and it's such a well told story through and through. Um and we can go through it. Like I'm not gonna like I'll put spoiler whatever on the at the beginning. We can talk about it cuz I like this game is 2 hours, right? It
Yeah.
it says on the website how long to beat. It's like a 4-hour game.
Okay.
But I beat it in like I finished it in like 2.5 or 2 hours, right? I think,
Really?
yeah,
Okay.
I don't know if I just took like an exceptionally short amount of time. Yeah, my Steam says 3 hours played. Um,
That's impressive. Okay, I was actually curious as to how long you were gonna take playing it because I also looked it up. I took about 4.8 hours,
oh, okay.
and mind you, I feel like I could have played it longer.
Really?
Like, I really do. Yes. There were
Hmm.
things that, like, I feel like I could have explored a little bit more. Um, yeah, I took the pace very slow. Very, very slow.
Okay. Yeah, I think I might have sped through like certain portions, but I definitely
Mhm.
like, I stopped to read pretty much all the notes. I stopped to read all the little book backs. I
Yeah.
made as many call-ins, quote unquote, as I could to Delilah because talking to
Mhm.
her was basically just a treat every time there was a
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
Um, just to just pour more of this story onto my plate so I can just, lap it up. It was
Mhm.
like I dove right in. Okay, yes,
Mhm.
3.7 hours. Okay, so not
3.7, yeah.
yeah, there you go.
I have, like, a little over an entire hour longer than you do on that.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
crazy.
And I still like I said, I still feel like I coulda
Yeah.
dicked around a little bit
I
more.
mean, I most certainly could have. I don't think I explored a lot of like certain areas.
Mhm.
Like there's the certain portion where you have to get past the fence.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
explore that almost at all. I got in
Really?
and I got out of that area. I didn't look at around pretty much at all. There were several
Mhm.
things that I could have like inspected in that camp, but
Uh-huh.
I like at that point in time I felt so pressured to like get in and out. I just was like, no, I gotta go. I gotta grab what I need
Yeah.
to grab and I gotta leave. Like uh whatever this mystery is, I have to, somebody's here. I've got to go. I'm messing with something outside of or way above me.
Yeah, that I shouldn't be. I'm touching things I shouldn't be touching and reading
Right.
things I shouldn't be reading. I touched everything in that tent. Every single thing that I could put my hands on, anything that I could ruffle or tell Delilah about, anything I could pick up, I was like, "Yep, my fingerprints are all over this."
All
Like,
over this place.
yes.
And like,
Um, what's
yeah.
interesting about that though, is how you mentioned you felt like the pressure, the rush of like, I gotta get in, I gotta get out. That's one thing that this game did phenomenally is
Right.
they controlled the pace of the game from the very beginning to
Mhm.
the very end. There was always a sense of either this is how long you should be taking, you can slow down, you can soak in the air and the leaves kind of thing,
Mhm.
or you need to hurry. This is pressing, this is urgent. And again, like you said, without having any other outside people or really outside forces other than maybe some music and the
Oh,
dialogue. That
yeah.
was it.
Oh, I was gonna mention that, I had that written down was, um, there were the times when they were like, "Alright, you gotta walk from, the top left corner of the map to the bottom,
Mhm.
you know, good luck."
Yeah.
They would give you, like, this music, this, like, really
Mhm.
good just tone setting music, and, like, as soon as I heard the music, I'm like, "Oh, I'm just supposed to take in the scenery," you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
gonna be no conversation, there's gonna be
Mhm.
no, you know, doing anything but listening and looking.
Yeah.
And it's such a small thing, but it's like you said, it's just they use it to set the tone and the pacing, and it's so good.
Oh, 1,000%, and I think that they do it, to your point, like, just perfectly throughout the
Mhm.
whole thing. In the very beginning, when we're talking about our wife and stuff, and you're basically on this path, right? And it gets interrupted over and over again. You're on a tiny trail, and
Mhm.
it's just leading forward, and that's it. Even then, I was noticing,
Oh,
like, the
yeah.
times where it's like, slow down or slow down, but in a way that feels ominous again, right? Like, "Ooh,
Right.
something is gonna happen, I'm not sure what," but the tone is changing, the lighting's changing. I feel like I almost don't wanna hit the next load point because I don't know what's coming up. I
Right.
don't know what's around the corner, you know?
Yeah, that bit of sort of beginning storytelling was also extremely, like extremely good where, you're hiking to your tower basically at the very beginning, and then in between you hit those load points like you said, and then it
Mhm.
it flashes back to like times with your wife, like how'd you meet, um like what did you do when you met her, and then what did you do at this
Mhm.
point when you got a dog, and
What
like
dog did you choose?
I think I picked Mayhem,
Oh,
the
okay,
big crazy
Mayhem,
dog,
yeah.
yeah.
Man, I wish I would've picked Mayhem. I picked the Beagle because she loved the Beagle. I wanted her to be safe, but she loves this dog, so I got the
Mhm.
Beagle.
Yeah, I I got the sense of like something's gonna happen to her, like right at the very beginning, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I need to get something that like I'm like, she likes this small dog. She wants to take it with her to work or wherever she's
Mhm.
going on walks
Mhm.
and in her bag. But like I just have this feeling that something's gonna happen to her. And
Yeah.
so I chose mayhem because I'm like, what if it's like, oh, it's really tragic. And then it was, but in a completely different way. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna cry.
Yeah.
Ugh, ugh,
Okay, so I
man.
took a photo of that dog selection screen. Mind you, I normally don't play story games like this where I have to make a decision,
Mhm.
because I have decision anxiety.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there sweating bullets over what dog I'm gonna pick her, right? This is part of like why it took me nearly 5 hours to do this game. I'm
Gotcha, gotcha.
just sweating bullets 15 minutes over what dog I'm gonna get her. So I took a photo and I was like, what in the loaded question is this? Because it's like, there's this beagle. She loves it. It's going to make her happy. She'll take it to class. And then there's this dog that can protect her from like random acts of violence, or you know what I
Yeah,
mean? And I
right?
was like,
You're
whoa,
like, "Wait a minute.
whoa.
Hang on. What are you trying to say to me?" Like, "Oh,
Yeah.
okay." Yeah, that definitely I think it's really interesting. It would be interesting to, like, compare a lot of our choices because I think
Yeah.
I chose my choices not just at the beginning, but throughout,
Mhm.
when responding to Delilah,
Mhm.
um, really on, like, what I would say in real life if I were in that
Oh, same.
situation, right? Like, I wasn't trying to, get a particular outcome,
Yeah.
um, but just, like, what I think I would do, you know?
Yeah.
Um, like, for instance, whenever, like, towards the beginning, whenever she's asking about why you're here and you're, like,
Mhm.
given the choice to, tell her some bullshit or
Yeah.
tell her the truth or,
Mhm.
say something kind of hedgy where,
Yeah.
like, it's not really a lie, but it's not really the truth, you know?
Sure.
I opted to open up because I would rather if I were in a situation like that, if you're the only person I'm gonna talk to, like, I'm gonna tell you stuff, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so, like, that just led into that actually it was interesting because it was leading more into this route of, like, getting really close with Delilah.
Hmm.
Um, finding out about her, significant other and how, it wasn't that, like, he left her and then, like, he was just disappeared or whatever, like, it was actually her that left because of personal reasons and how she couldn't get into that kind of a commitment, like she had commitment issues.
Oh, what?
Did that not come up for you?
I don't recall that. So this is interesting because I took it again the route of what I would most likely do, and I was trying to open up to Delilah, but I was dodgy,
Okay, okay,
just
okay.
like real life.
That's
So I
okay. I
had a lot of
mean,
instances where I was kind of a smart aleck or whatever, and then I'd be like, "Hey, but like for real though, this is kind of what's going on," you know? So I feel like I was opening up with her, and she started to open up with me, but she kind of mirrored me, right? So I
mhm,
was kind of reserved. So when I pried a little bit, she was kind of reserved.
right. Yeah, no,
Mhm.
I think that's like the way they wrote the multiple choice was like super
Yeah.
intriguing because like
Yeah.
it adds a level of like I want to play to see what she says at this
Mhm.
time. But yeah,
Mhm.
no, because I like I said, I opened up pretty much at every point in time. And yeah, she was talking about how, because you told me, your whole story with your wife, I'm gonna tell you a story about me and how she was I want to say it was in like South America, or wherever she was, and she was working with another park district somewhere, and she met her, I guess, significant other. I don't know if they were engaged or what they were, um, but they met, and she was like, I was gonna like, he was gonna be there for me the rest of my life. Like we were gonna be together forever,
Mm.
sort of situation.
Yeah.
Like he was my one. Um, and then like when he finally like popped the question and like come move in with me, come have a life with me, I shut
Mhm.
down and I moved out here. And I was like, "Oh my god, like what?" I was,
Wow.
and then she's like, yeah, I told my sister and my mom that I you know, he just left. He, you know, I
Oh.
don't remember. I can't remember if she said like he cheated on me, so I dumped him, or like he dumped
Oh,
me or something. But it was like she
yeah.
lied to her family about why she was no longer with this guy. And like
Wow.
I was like, oh my god, like
Yeah.
she's got issues. Like no wonder she's downing a fifth of tequila every chance she gets. Like damn.
Makes a little
Um,
bit more sense.
and you know, and that eventually got me at certain points where she's like, so what are you gonna do when you get out, you know, when we're done with for the summer? Because like it's a summer gig, that's like the dry season, you know, etc. There's not gonna be any
Yeah.
fires during the winter because it's snow.
Okay.
um you know, she's like, what are you gonna do? And I answered that I was probably gonna go back and visit my wife, even though, you know, her family doesn't like me. And
Mhm.
like that was, I don't know what you chose, but that was the
Mhm.
most like crushing response,
Oh.
because she said she was like, "Oh, yeah, that's probably a good idea." Like, "Oh, I'm disappointed because I actually wanted you to come with me." And I was like, "Oh no."
Oh, no.
Oh, because there was also an option to like, "Hey, what if we met?"
Okay. So, typical cat fashion, I was like, avoidant, shared a little bit, and then at the very end, I was like, "Yo, what's up? Like, come back with me to Colorado, babe." Um, which threw her through a loop. She did not like that.
Oh, really?
But with that being said, I had not built that rapport with her to be able to be saying those things. You see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
m
Oh.
my myself and my character, we only opened up so much, so she only opened up so much, but I think that that led me to being more attached to her than she was to me. So when I said that, she was like, you should probably go and visit your wife," kind of
Really?
thing, and
Okay.
I'm gonna go do my thing, and, like, maybe we'll see each other in the future, but it felt like she was just saying that to, like, placate, like, we weren't gonna see
Mhm.
each other in the future, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah.
crazy. I wonder,
Mhm.
oh man, this makes me wanna play it again.
I wanna do another
Uh,
playthrough, yeah. I'm
I
ready.
wonder yeah, I wonder if like, because there's gotta be, um, like every time you answer a certain way, there's gotta be like a counter toward
Mhm.
like a certain value of like whether she likes you, or like it's
Oh,
a
yeah.
friendship, or if it's like
Mhm.
you know,
Hidden MMR, hidden
you're,
Delilah
yeah, yeah,
MMR.
exactly, like, or if you she just sees you as like just this shithead that she has to talk to because it's her job, you know, like because
Yeah.
there were definitely some sarcastic like shithead responses.
Yeah,
Um,
I definitely didn't select those.
you're like you're like, uh because there were some mean ones on day one, and I'm like, damn, who would choose that? Cat's over here like, do 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 do, not me.
I try not to be overtly mean, but I was definitely a smartass, like, most of the time. Oh, man,
uh,
it's a wonder she even still talked to me.
I I mean, obviously she's obligated, but like, you know, yeah. No, I actually I'm kind of wondering like how, cuz like
Mhm.
going into I wouldn't even say the meat of the story, cuz like I honestly, the meat of the story is what we've been talking about with
Yeah.
the essential themes of like loneliness and dealing with it, and
Mhm.
you know, loss and all that stuff. But like the other like plot lines of um there's someone else out here, right?
Yes.
Uh I wonder if like you would even get that deep into it with her, because like there were times where she was like freaking out and you were the only person, or
Mhm.
at least for me, she was like
Mhm.
you know, losing her
Yeah.
mind, and you were the only
Mhm.
person that would be like, "Hey, it's going to be fine. Don't
Yeah.
worry about it." But there were
Yeah.
moments where you could say like something reassuring, but then you could
Yeah.
also say something like, I'm not going down. This is your fault. You fucked this up, you
True,
know?" And
true,
like I
yeah.
was like, "What? Would
Yeah,
somebody
yeah.
actually pick that? That's crazy."
So I couldn't bring myself to do
I
that
couldn't
because,
either.
yeah, it just doesn't work with me. There in those instances, though, I noticed that there were a lot of times where you could either, provide that comfort to her, or you could elevate with her.
Right.
And I tended to sometimes I provided that comfort, but very often she was the one comforting me because I
Oh,
was elevated
really?
and I was like, "Dude, what if they're following us?" And blah, blah, you know what I mean? And, like, I was more of the conspiracy theorist, and then if anything, feeding her fire in
Oh,
that,
shit.
which is
Yeah.
probably
Like
not
I said,
helpful.
the I think this is showing, like, our divergent personalities playing a game like
Yeah,
this. Well, because like, it's really interesting, right? Because this isn't a, what is it called? I have this game, it's like it's a choose your own adventure style
sure.
game.
Yeah.
Um, damn, what is it called?
Was that not it?
Mm, yeah, I'm looking for a specific game. I don't remember what it is. Where you get like depending on your choice,
Yeah.
uh, you get certain endings.
Mhm.
Um, they made like a Game of Thrones one or a Borderlands one, like Tales of
Mhm.
games. That's what I'm looking for.
Mhm. Oh, yeah, yeah,
You know how
okay.
there are different endings from that. There is no separate ending for this game.
Interesting, I was wondering.
Yeah, I looked it up because like
Yeah,
with this series we only have a week to play basically.
sure.
So I'm like, I can't do my due diligence and play this game 5 times to get 5 endings. So if there are different endings, I'm gonna have to look it up so that I can talk about it.
Interesting.
Assuming, because it's actually funny because Tim takes we've had a couple of games where that's been different endings, but he's chosen the same thing I have. So like there's not a whole lot of divergence in
Yeah.
gameplay style.
Oh, that's interesting too.
But with this, it's really only you only get different responses.
Huh.
There's no different ending.
Okay, so, there's something I had written down, and it's something okay, it this makes me think of what I had written. You're trying to look ahead, but it gives you no information about the in-game trail. So when you're hiking up to you're going through the very initial part of the story, right?
Mhm.
You're hitting those load points and stuff. One thing I noted is it gives you no information about the in-game trail or what's next. You get pushed forward either way, parallel to the storyline.
Mhm.
It felt like regardless of what happens, this is what's going to happen next. Like you're a passenger in your own story.
Mhm.
And that's interesting because I feel like all the way through and through to the end, us having the same outcome, regardless of the decisions that we made, we had the same
Mhm.
ending is very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like a unique take for a game that only has one ending.
Mhm.
Um I've I've never played a game where it has like 5 endings, and I've never been like, I want to play this game 5 times
Yeah.
personally. But
Yeah.
like this game with one
Mhm.
ending, I
Yeah.
go, okay, but I want to go talk to Delilah different ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I think is only a positive.
Mhm.
Uh so yeah,
Well, I
I
agree, being that the whole game is the story and the story that you're telling, and the only person you're speaking to is Delilah, so having her be the replay factor means that they hit the nail on the head.
yeah,
Like, they
they
did it.
absolutely crushed it with her like oh man, you know
Okay, I
what?
have to know what the dog okay, really quick, I have to go back to this dog because man, I'm telling you, this has been on my mind. So I chose the beagle, we got mugged later. Did you get mugged?
I I think so, but I think Mayhem defended us pretty. Oh yeah, no, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Mhm.
Actually, I remember this clearly now. Got mugged, but
Mhm.
like I chose the option of like attacking the attacker,
Oh, okay, okay.
and like apparently, the police come by, and I'm like beating the
Mhm.
shit out of some guy, and they're like, "Hey,
Mhm.
what are you doing?" And I'm like, don't worry about it, guy. Yeah,
Mhm.
no, definitely got mugged. I don't know if the dog actually made a difference in that particular scene.
Now I'm wondering if anything makes a difference in anything. I have this, like, excess it's uh, okay, so you've heard about it's a common conception, right? Like, how much control do we have over our lives? Like,
Mhm.
if there's point A and point B, and we make all these decisions in between, but we still end up at point B, right? How much are we actually gonna deviate from that initial plan. How much
Right.
control do we have? How much is predetermined?
Right.
This is a bigger existential crisis that this just sparked in me. So
Of course. Oh, well, I mean, like, don't even. Like, this is something that lots of religions have been debating for thousands of years. So,
yeah.
like, don't even feel like this is something that you have to, that you've decided to bear this cross by yourself. Like,
Yeah.
everyone's been
Yeah.
debating that very fact for as long as we've
Forever.
existed. So,
It's like I didn't care about it for a long time until I played this game, and now all of a sudden all these things are coming up, and it's like, wow. So I was thinking with the dog. So you beat the attacker. Did your
mhm.
wife get scared of you at all? Was she scared? Was she like, "Oh, you took it a little too far," or were you guys kind of chill?
um, I think okay. So I clicked the like I attacked the attacker to defend my family, and then she's
Mhm.
like, I don't want to take that route anymore because we were like
Okay.
coming home
Okay.
from something, but that
Yeah.
was it.
Okay. Interesting.
Um,
Okay.
did you also choose that option or did you choose something
No,
else?
I chose to be big and scary, and I threatened him, and it said
Oh,
that I scared everybody involved was scared. So I scared him, I scared my wife, and I scared myself.
hmm.
And then there were a couple like small like allusions to like the temper thing, but like I said, I think that was gonna obviously that was gonna happen regardless because that's his one of his personality types for his
Hmm.
character.
Yeah, interesting. That's
Hmm.
huh? Because like I'm gonna be honest, like if I'm with a person and like we get threatened and they like
Yeah,
beat the somebody to a
a
pulp,
pull.
I'm a little bit
Yeah,
more afraid of that than them being like, hey, if you don't get the fuck out of my face, I'm gonna beat you to a pulp. Like
yeah, yeah,
like if you actually
yeah.
take a baseball bat to a man, like that's
Hmm.
that's a little bit scarier than threatening because a lot of people can threaten but not a lot of people follow through, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the bark or the bite, and I think a lot of that comes, with, like, I would want my partner to do that. I would want my partner to be like, "Yo, fuck you, I'm gonna show you how you just made the worst mistake of your life," right, by
Right,
threatening me and my wife. I
right.
am a 5'1" female, so when I'm playing as this burly man in this video game, I'm like, "I'm scared. Maybe if I just tell him to go away nicely, he'll leave."
Yeah. Um, yeah. Huh. It's
Yeah,
curious. I don't know, like you
mhm,
said, I don't know what exactly that might affect. I'm
interesting.
wondering if there's like this is a game that actually makes me want to like break it open and look in the
Yeah,
inside to see what the codes do. Like if you
mhm.
choose certain things, is it going to affect the way you respond? Like if you choose like I
Oh,
choose to be a scary person, right?
sure.
Does it add certain responses to Delilah that like invoke your temper? Do you know
Interesting.
what I mean? Or if you
Yeah.
choose like, oh, I fought the guy, does that mean that you're like your character ends up like with the option of being more level-headed during intense portions of the game?
Oh, I
Maybe?
see.
Like do you think that
Yeah.
that dynamic exists in the game or do you think it's just like you chose something, you made it to the next spot. It doesn't really affect that much except for like minor flavor.
Yeah, see, I want to believe it's the prior, but I'm leaning towards it's the latter.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I could think of was like at one point Delilah asks about your dog and then you
Mhm.
describe it. And then there's another time where she's like, how'd you meet your wife? And you describe it
Mhm.
because you could choose that in the beginning.
True. Yeah.
Um, but like I can't think of any other times where um you know, she, something was affected. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like there wasn't any other time where the beginning choices affected
Yeah.
anything that I could see, unless it was some hidden choice of like, you were given the option to respond this way at this point or this way at this point.
Hmm. Yeah. I yeah, I think you're completely right because I can't think of any other point now. And it's funny that I was stressing so much in that opening sequence, making all these decisions. It's kind of funny.
I mean, I like if you were to get stressed at any point in this game, I think the opening portion is
Yeah.
absolutely a perfect like time to get stressed because like
Yeah.
man, hard hitting. I will say
Yeah.
that. Um, one thing I want to note, I'm just scrolling through Steam here. You got the achievement Love Turts, that you adopted a turtle as a pet.
Yes! Did
I
you
did
get that?
I did not.
Okay, so this is one of the reasons why I wanted to play again. Did you okay, that's a whole different I'm going on a tangent. The turtle.
Mhm.
Okay, so I found the turtle the very end when you're going to the helicopter,
Oh,
you're getting
really?
out of there. I stumbled upon a damn turtle and I even noted um I feel like the journey would have been so much nicer with a pet. So had I found this little guy sooner, which again
Wow.
goes back to those themes of loneliness and things, right? Like,
Yeah.
would my intention or my feeling of the game had changed if I had found that turtle not when I'm running, when the forest is burning down, running to get
Yeah.
basically helicoptered out. Um, so yeah, there was a turtle. If you told
Interesting.
me where or had me pointed out on a map, I wouldn't know because it was so smoky and
Right.
I genuinely didn't know where I was.
Wow, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, go back, play it through, give different
Mhm.
answers, tell me how it goes.
Mhm.
Adopt
Find
your
the
turtle
turtle.
earlier. One thing I
Yes.
did find was the raccoon. I didn't get the
Mhm.
achievement. I don't know if you did. Did you ever find the raccoon as well or no?
Yeah, I got, attacked by the raccoon, right? Or something. What was
Yeah,
the
it
achievement?
says
I'll
get
look here.
attacked by a raccoon. Probably didn't get rabies. I didn't get the achievement. I don't think it says that you got it either.
Weird.
But it definitely like ran around and then like made some scritching noises and left. And I was like, oh, that's cute. It's like the
Huh.
only other model I've seen in the game of an animal, you know? I was like,
Now I'm, like,
interesting.
super curious as to how you get that achievement.
Um, I suspect because like it doesn't move until you start like moving quickly. So if you like move really slowly out of its line of sight, I bet you if you like get close, it attacks you.
Oh, yeah, I got attacked.
Oh, really? Yeah, no, because I like snuck up
Yeah.
on it and stood and watched it, and then it went ah, and then ran around and then left.
Oh, did you okay, so towards the end, we're headed up to Delilah.
Hmm.
We're on a trail. There is a building that looks slightly abandoned, and that's where I believe I got attacked by the raccoon. There was a
Oh,
building, the side of it's blown out overlooking a cliff. There's a downstairs area to it, almost like a
oh,
cellar that somebody was living in. So that's interesting. I
oh.
actually didn't see a raccoon other than that time personally.
Interesting. Okay, okay. So, I know what building you're in, but I remember being like, "Hey, there's a weird building here. I'm gonna come back to this," and then I never did because the trail
Mhm.
doesn't take you that way. And
Nope.
going to the helicopter, there's like a left path and a right path.
Yep, and that's what I was gonna say.
And I think I went the left path, which
You went
is
the left, I
not
went the right.
right.
Mhm.
Um, hmm. Okay, so the raccoon that I saw was, do you remember the first camp where you find the two girls and
Yes.
all their stuff? They like left their
Mhm.
packs there. It's got a
Mm.
like little ridge next to it, in the fire.
Yep.
It's like right up next to that.
Hmm.
Um, do you remember at the very, very end, which I guess we won't spoil this portion. We can talk about it a bit. At the very, very end, when you find the like base camp of the person who you think is hanging around up there,
Yes.
it's like just to the left of that. There's
Oh!
like a jump spot, and like you
Huh.
can go up behind there, and there's a raccoon that's like eating something shiny.
Whoa!
Yeah, I
I
was like,
didn't see
oh
that at
snap,
all.
look at that, and then I went up to it, and it like freaked out and ran away.
Interesting. So did you notice on the main menu, there's, like, an extras section?
I saw it, I didn't click on it.
There's an option there's it's actually pretty cool. There's an option just to go back to the map as open world
Oh
and just
yes,
mess around.
I did see that.
Um, you can also you get a little camera that you can use inside the game, which was very fun. I took so many photos of so many cool things,
I took
and
like
some things.
two.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't remember it. I
I don't
never
know
yeah.
why it was such it was more of a funsy for funsies thing, but I was so pressed by the story and the
Yeah.
mystery. There's so many things going on that I was taking photos of all sorts of stuff to make sure I wasn't incriminated in anything I didn't want to be involved in. Um, where was I going with this? I lost my train of thought.
You
That happens sometimes.
took pictures, you were so involved with the story, you didn't take that many pictures, you we're looking at the uh, menu at the
Oh,
extras.
yes, the menu. That's fantastic. So you can go back to the menu and you can get all of those files from your camera roll and print them.
Oh
Or you
yeah,
could like upload them places. And I think that was like really cute and like a really fun addition.
it's
It
very
kind of really
interesting.
makes you feel like you were there.
Yeah, it's very cool. I
Mhm,
did. I think I saw that at the very end.
mhm.
And I was like, oh, that's cool. Um, now on that note, do you take
Mhm.
pictures in real life?
Yes.
I don't.
Interesting.
So like when I'm going around and I like see something really cool, my first instinct is not to like I need a picture of this. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Mhm.
Which leads to me having absolutely no pictures of myself or my wife at
Mm,
all,
mhm.
which
Mhm.
means I'm really bad at like being on social media where there are like pictures, like people post pictures of themselves, like, "Hey, look, we did this thing." Like, no, I don't do that,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, if you win in this game, and they're like, "Here's a camera." The people who take pictures are probably like, "Oh my god, a camera! I love cameras," you know. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
No, that
um,
was very much me. I don't actually take photos of myself very often, but flowers
mhm,
and scenery and things. I have so many photos of flowers
yeah,
on my phone, and that's basically the same thing I was doing with the disposable camera in game.
it's
Flower
perfect.
pics and sunsets and
Yeah,
yeah,
ah, it's it's such a thoughtful game.
it really is.
Um, now I we won't go too far into it.
Mhm,
Because I don't. It's such an interesting like beat to the story that
mhm.
like it should be the most impactful, but it almost wasn't. Um, when you finally hit the climax of the arc, the story arc where you're like finding out who's out in the woods with you.
Yes.
And then you go into the cave, and I won't
Mhm.
spoil anything
Yeah.
for anyone who's listening, but like that climax was so
Mm.
like it should have hit harder, but I don't know why it didn't. To me, at least.
Yeah. Um,
Like I don't know how you felt about it, but I like I kind of felt like it was gonna happen, but it
yeah.
just like it's a dangerous place. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say other than like that was the only way it could have ended, and it sucks. But
Yeah.
I don't know how else it could have.
I agree with that. I will say I agree with that. I remember feeling like, yeah, bummed out, sad,
Mhm.
and I remember walking through the cave and saying out loud, "Bummer,"
Yeah, I
which
was like,
is
oh
kind of
shit.
insensitive.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
ah, shit.
Mhm.
And then I just like moved on because I was trapped in a cave and I needed to leave.
Yeah, kind of same, and I think to your point, it was kind of like, well, how else could that have gone?
Yeah.
I think that you and I had probably both I think most people would anticipate some of that at least, and, but yeah, it felt bad, but
Yeah.
I wasn't super, super invested in that, not as much as, some other people
Not
may have
not
been.
as much as I think they wanted you to be,
Yeah.
which is I guess you could say like a rare miss for this particular story.
Yeah.
Um
I wonder why that is.
yeah, I don't know. Okay, and so like I will tell you right now. This is the last thing and then we can wrap up unless you have
Yeah.
anything else to say. Earlier I lied to you. Yeah, shock.
How could you?
I know. I'm a
I thought we were
terrible,
friends.
terrible friend.
Yeah.
There is a second ending to this game.
What?
And it's so inconsequential that I didn't even want to bring it up while we were talking.
Okay, what is it?
So nothing you do can give you this ending except one thing. At the
Okay.
very end, you're in Delilah's tower, you're talking to her, you are giving the responses however you're giving them, and
Mhm.
then, she's like, the helicopter's here, and you see it land. If you just don't go up and get on it, it'll leave without you. Yeah. You can just stay.
Oh, oh.
Yeah. I was like, oh, what?
Huh.
But like, it doesn't, there's no like closure of like you going back up to the tower and like being able to call Delilah back and being like, hey, I didn't get on the helicopter. I'm not coming home, or I'm not coming back. Like, there was no like, hey, you know, tell my wife I love her. Like, there's no
Oh.
ending. There's no closure. There was just, you don't get on the helicopter and that's it. I was like,
Um,
what?
that's I have like the chills because I'm like confused.
Yeah.
Because also this is a summer gig and they are providing you with rations and food and there is a raging fire outside.
Well,
So like
there's only one
what's the freaking
conclusion.
game plan? Yeah.
There's only one conclusion to that. You don't make it.
Yeah.
Like if
Yeah.
you if you are in that situation and you
Dang.
don't get evacuated,
Yeah.
they said that's the
You're,
biggest
you're
forest
jailed.
fire
Yeah.
they've seen in years and years, right? You don't
Yeah.
make it out, right?
Interesting.
And like it's such a rough ending because like
Yeah.
obviously there's no closure, but like if
Mm.
somebody does that, is there closure for anyone?
Uh,
Do you know what I mean? Like in a narrative
no.
sense, like if you had a
Yeah.
friend or you had a family member
Yeah.
or you knew somebody at school who did that, you understand what I mean?
Yes, yes, yes,
Um
yes, yes.
there's no
There's no
closure.
closure,
You
there's
know what I
no
mean?
closure there, and the fact that oh,
And
man,
that's
man.
yeah, that's such a it really like throws a wrench because it makes you think like, "Oh shit, yeah, you're right." You know?
Dang, I hate that. I hate
Yeah,
that. I hate that that's
it's
an option.
well, it
Get on the
sucks.
helicopter.
It sucks that that's an option, but like
Yeah,
narratively, it's like it's such a hard
yeah,
hitting. Like
yeah.
it's like wow, wow. Like
Mhm,
it sucks that that's a choice, but like the fact that that's
mhm.
a choice is another just like extremely thoughtful, thought provoking thing that they did.
Interesting, interesting.
And the funny thing was is because like you know I finished it and I went on Google. I'm like, is there any other endings to Firewatch? And
Uh-huh.
uh, it was actually reported as a bug until
What?
the makers were like, no,
Oh.
that's ending two. And they're like,
Oh.
and the gamers are like, why is that ending two? And they're like, because. And that was it. That's all they said. I was like,
Oh! What a
what? I was
response.
like,
Wow.
wow, that's oh my god, like these people have something to say
Yeah.
about like they're trying to like put across the most realistic like
Mhm,
version of like dealing with loneliness as possible and like
mhm.
it sucks, but like that's an option, you know?
Wow,
Like
yeah.
it's like that blows, but that's an option.
That's interesting. Wow, okay. And I think I mentioned that, like, I spent a lot of time wandering and not being where I was supposed to be,
Mhm.
in a normal amount of time. So I'm surprised for myself. I think that once the helicopter landed, I, like, kinda looked around for a second and I was like, "All right, well, this is what's next," kinda thing, and
Oh.
I didn't wanna stay because I was like, "I'm ready for this chapter to be over and to move forward with my life."
Mhm.
And that's just so interesting because again, we talk about pacing and like our own individual people, like, our souls, who we are as
Mhm.
people, how we're going to play the story through. And I was like, yeah, I'm kind of done. There's nothing left to do here. We need
Yeah,
to move
you're like,
forward, you know?
I'm ready for the end.
Yeah.
Like this has
Yeah.
been a great ride. I'd like
Hmm.
to get off and maybe go again.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
the more you know.
I like it's yeah, basically. That was something that threw me for a loop when I was reading it and
Yeah.
yeah, um amazing.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
do you, Miss Catlegs, do you have anything else you would like to say before we wrap up?
Um, well, thank you for having me, first of
Yo,
all.
you're invited back anytime you
Yes,
want.
woo!
100
We
like
love that.
if you want to join the podcast for every episode after this, by all means, you're invited back.
I
Um
definitely would love to come back at some point. I loved this game. I think that like I said, I went into it blind and it just far exceeded anything that I could have imagined myself. I actually do intend on going back and maybe doing another
Excellent.
playthrough. But yeah, thank you for having me. That's it.
Okay, so before we finish, I would like to ask you one single question.
Oh
If you
man.
were to rate this game on a scale from 1 to 10, because we do this at the end of every single
Okay.
podcast, if you would
Yes.
rate
What a
this
10.
game on a scale from 1 to 10, where would you put it?
Yeah, I that's a good question. Um I would say that there is some replay value. We've already talked about that, so I think that increases it a little bit for me.
Mhm.
I give it a solid like man 8.5. I
Yeah.
really liked this game. 8.59 maybe even.
Yeah.
I really
I
liked this
was,
game. I'm happy with the purchase.
I honestly, like, this game is $20 on Steam. I don't know if it's on the Epic
Yeah.
Games Store. $20 on Steam. I would say this is honestly like a 9 out of 10, maybe even a
Yeah.
9.5 out of 10. I'm really hesitant
Yeah.
to give 10 out of 10s personally.
Yeah.
But like,
I'm scared to even do 9.
genuinely, like, I
Yeah.
love this game so much. I would recommend this game to everybody. Like,
Yeah.
it's $20. You might think, 3.5 hours to 4 hours of gameplay for $20. Oh, that's a hard sell, like, oh,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
pretty rough. No, it
No.
is so good. I'm gonna play this with my wife. I'm gonna give her the controller, the mouse and keyboard. Go make the choices, and I'm gonna sit and I'm just gonna experience it with her.
Ooh,
I'm gonna
that's
play it
fun.
again myself one day after I've like given it, the cooldown that it deserves. Like, recommend this to everybody. 9 out of 10. Amazing game.
1000%.
1000%. Like, ooh,
20 bucks,
so
best
good.
20 bucks I spent that week for sure.
For
For
sure.
those of you out there listening, I don't know, I was like, I don't know, man. I was gonna buy
Yeah.
a single keycap for
For 20
$20
bucks.
today. I'm very happy that I got the game instead.
Good. I'm glad that my persuasion was the better choice, it turns out.
It
I would
was,
have
it
been
was.
very sad. I'm gonna be honest. I would have been very sad if we'd played this game and it was a big flop. It would have been tragic.
Yeah, it would have been.
Um. All right. Well, I think that about covers everything. Thank you for talking.
Yeah, thank
Um.
you.
But yeah, that's about it. I'm just gonna say goodbye to everybody, and we'll cut it off here. Goodbye.